Okay, I think we will go ahead and get started now. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We appreciate you taking the time today to come and attend our semi-live webinar. That is part one of a series of webinars that we will be producing. This first webinar, as you can see, is called Mastering the Art of VDI Cloud Adoption, Best Practices and Insights. The important thing here is when you are looking at any kind of a technology like VDI, virtual desktops, choosing the right platform is crucial. So we wanted to make sure that we put together an educational series to help your company find a roadmap to success with this technology. So in this webinar today, we will be going through and discussing on a high level what that looks like, how you can start to understand more in depth what the different components of virtual desktops are, help to educate yourself so that you can make that right decision on what's best to go with for you and your company. So as I mentioned, this is a semi-live webinar. We will have a promotion at the end as well as Q&A. So throughout this webinar, please, if you have questions that pop up, put them in the chat and we will review those questions at the end. So with that being said, we will go ahead and start this webinar. The agenda today obviously went through an introduction. We'll start with an overview of VDI and DAS, go into some platform oversights, go over performance and scalability, and then cover some use cases, and then we'll have some closing remarks, and then I'll reveal a promotion that we'll have for everybody who's in attendance here with us today, and then at the end we'll do some Q&A. Now, a couple of housekeeping items. We'll keep everybody on mute throughout. And so if you have any questions that come up, please feel free to ask them, but put them into the notes section, into the chat section of this meeting, and we will hit them in the Q&A at the very end. So with that starting here, let me introduce to you our experts here who will be helping to answer a lot of these questions and to really navigate us through the complexities of these technologies. So we have Rajiv and Michael with us today, and between the two of these guys, each of them has over a decade of experience in their relative fields and have become, in their own rights, subject matter experts and are people who are we rely on, and who also have a reputation of being go-to people with these technologies. So we want to move forward with that. So thank you guys, Rajiv, Michael, appreciate you guys being here today.
Happy to be here. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So let's jump in, guys. This is conversational. I have a lot of questions teed up here that I want to ask you guys. And so with that first question, really starts us with an overview. How can virtual desktops and VDI and DAS revolutionize an organization? Michael, I'll let you start with this question here.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for the great introduction. Fantastic. Thank you. So yeah, ever since COVID, as we all know, the workplace has changed, and those traditional methods of workforce engagement along with it. VDI and DAS provides the flexibility to match those requirements through a variety of features and controls. By breaking free of the traditional desktop model, this enables employees to access their desktops from all over the world on any device. And this provides employers with the ability to recruit from geographically diverse locations. This really extends the ability to find that talent no matter where they're at. And by reducing the endpoint's workload and treating those devices as thin clients, in conjunction with these remote desktops and remote desktop protocols, we're reducing the endpoint risk because nothing is stored locally. This is reducing your available attack surfaces and is enhancing your security posture. With virtual desktops reducing physical hardware requirements, the scaling of virtual machines allows for you to directly control your spend in cloud with pay-as-you-go models, making sure that you're only paying for what you need. And by working with a seasoned vendor, such as ourselves, we'll work with you directly to make sure that you're not overspending in cloud. Additionally, compliance and auditing is built directly into each platform. And as we know, there's more and more compliance over every industry. And these platforms provide centralized tools, enhanced security measures, efficient auditing capabilities that assure that your application of policies are meeting your data protection standards.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that, Michael. And I guess it's fair to say that these technologies offer a massive amount of flexibility for
absolutely.
businesses. And so if you're an organization,
it also right,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it also helps to streamline operations, right? So the organization-wide practices and standards can be implemented easily, as Michael said, the compliance practices are easy to implement, and it can be managed and controlled in a flexible fashion.
Right, right. Yeah, an amazing amount of flexibility, scalability, and really helping businesses navigate and work in this modern world that we live in. And so with that the next question, it really kind of flows into there. You know, there's a lot of options out there. It's not just as just simple and straightforward as VDI and DAS, right? So we see different offerings like managed DAS, on-premise solutions, right? There's a lot of different ways to look at that. And so which makes each one of them unique? Rajiv, I'll ask you this, and how can businesses look to leverage these?
Oh yeah, for sure. So all these platforms are great, and it does its job, right? It's who manages and who controls what makes it different, but the underlying technology is the same. So the end goal is to deliver desktops and applications to the end users with great end user experience, correct? So in terms of on-prem VDI, the customers have the complete control over the hardware, the SDDC stack, and the VDI management plane, and the desktops and apps which are delivered to the end users. So they can control each and every layer of it and tailor it as they need it, as they want it, as the security fits. So moving on to DAS, it's still the control plane, the VDI management plane is managed by the DAS provider, which helps you focus on your business and deliver the applications what the end user requires, right? So you don't have to worry about updating your control plane. Did I fix a bug in the management plane and things like that, right? So you can focus on your business and delivering apps to your users. Moving on to the next one is very interesting. That is managed DAS. Here, the management ownership lies till the desktops for the OEM, right? So the service provider manages still the desktops, and you as a business can focus on delivering the applications, configuring its settings, and focus on the end user experience itself, right? And focus on your business. Mm-hmm. So that's the key differences between these platforms, and one business can choose to do any of these flavors and provide the applications which are required for the users.
Right, and I think something you said at the very beginning is important to know and to consider is that all of these work, right? All of these are effective, all of these options. And so as an organization, what resources do you have internally? What kind of experience or expertise do you have in order to discover which of these solutions is going to be most beneficial and most efficient? So that's where, you know, this landscape and this whole webinar comes in, because there's a lot of options to consider. And as you can see here, all of these work, but their real goal is to find which one works the best for you. So as we're looking at the environment and the different providers that are out there, obviously there's some standout leaders in this realm here. So who are those? Michael, I'll let you take the first two here as far as those industry leaders offering these technologies.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I love this question because, you know, there's a variety of providers out there and they all do some really great things. And I'll start off with Microsoft. So Microsoft provides two different DAS platforms. native Azure Virtual Desktop as well as Windows 365 Cloud PC. By default, Windows 365 is considered a managed DAS as it's directly built into the platform, and these desktops are dedicated to their users and can be provided at any moment. With Azure Virtual Desktop, this provides the ability for multi-session desktops, which is allowing for the pooling of users, and really fits into more complex environments and allows for also remote app delivery. Then talking to VMware, VMware Horizon can be deployed on a variety of cloud providers as well as on-premise deployments, and can meet pretty much any need. We'll talk more into the direct features in another segment here, or coming up here in just a moment. But yeah, just a quick
Well, that's the perfect. That's the perfect overview of those two. Rajiv, help everybody understand a little bit behind Citrix and AWS and what separates them from the others.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, so these Citrix is a long-term provider or OEM in this landscape. They've been from the Metaframe days. They've been doing this. So they have CVAD, so Citrix Virtual Apps and desktops currently, and they also offer Citrix Cloud, which is a DaaS service. They manage the control plane. And getting down to AWS, they also have a DaaS service, which is Workspaces, and also an application delivery service, and it also provides non-persistent virtual desktops, which is AppStream 2.0. And there's a new offering which they came up with, is Workspaces Core, where they allow the other OEMs, say for example VMware or Citrix, to integrate into Workspaces and use the scale of AWS, right? So that's the different type of offerings what Citrix and AWS has today, right? And yeah.
Yeah, and again, seeing how many different options there are within these four providers on top of the different types of technologies, managed DaaS and VDI. There's so many different complexities and intricacies, and so that's where Anunta has specializations with all of these technologies in helping businesses to evaluate the current environment and also the goals of where you're looking to go and evaluate the right choice. So yeah, thank you for that, guys. So let's dive in a little bit deeper. Michael, I'll ask you this first question. What are the features and capabilities that set, let's say, Microsoft and VMware apart?
Yeah, so when we're just thinking about Microsoft Azure virtual desktops or Windows 365 cloud PCs, these are built natively into Azure. There's no need for a secondary service or additional subscriptions. And so the capabilities are built right there. Like I said before, looking at Azure Virtual Desktop, this provides multi-session desktops. This allows the pooling of resources. This allows for you to put several users on the same machine so that you can pool those resources and not spend extra money for those. Additionally, thinking about Windows 365 Cloud PC, those machines are a managed DaaS directly on the platform itself, or Azure platform. These users have dedicated desktops where the IT team can spin up from a template at a moment's notice. The users are also able to manage their desktops right there. They're able to install applications, uninstall, so on and so forth. Taking those features and combining them with the endpoint management that is provided by Microsoft allows for control over the user's experience, as well as for patching and management updates for those devices. Thinking to VMware Horizon Cloud, specifically thinking of delivery of these endpoints, VMware provides a BLAST protocol, which enables for a low latency connection to those virtual desktops, as well as enabling audio and graphics redirection. We see a lot of organizations that are using GPUs on this type of protocol because it does keep that latency and experience, the latency low and the experience high quality. VMware also features instant clones and app virtualization for enhanced flexibility. This is delivering a desktop experience or hosted applications directly to your users. VMware Horizon Cloud also, VMware Horizon also has features Workspace ONE, which is an integrated workspace platform and unified endpoint management system that provides identity and access management, application management, updates, and so on. With VMware Horizon as well, like I said before, you can deploy this on a variety of cloud providers, as well as your on-premise or in a data center somewhere.
Okay, yeah, all good things to know, and definitely some features that each of them carries uniquely. Rajiv, would you like to take on, what separates these features and capabilities apart from AWS and Citrix?
Oh yeah, sure, for sure. So this is a great question, right? So all the DaaS providers or VDI platforms does the job, but the mechanics are different, right? So one need to understand
Right.
it's done. Is it for me, right? Should I do it this way or should I do it the other way? Correct. So to add on to what Michael said, say VMware has got instant clones and VMware DEM, and Dynamic Environment Manager and Workspace ONE suite. Citrix and Microsoft have got different offerings. Like Microsoft has got Entra ID, which was called as Azure AD initially, and then they have Intune for management. VMware has got Workspace ONE. Citrix have got WEM, which is their profiling tool, and they also support, all the platforms do support persistent and non-persistent desktops, application publishing, and things like that, right? So now, what does it? How does it? What does differentiate them are mainly the protocols, right? So Azure, Microsoft, they do RDP, and then VMware, they do Blast, as Michael said, and moving on to Citrix, they do HDX. Now it was ICA for a long time, and then it's HDX now. And AWS, they have multiple offerings. That is, for workspaces, they offer PCOR IP or WSP, which is Workspaces Streaming Protocol. And for AppStream, they do provide nice DCV, right? So that's used for graphics intensive applications, to stream graphics intensive applications. So that's being used in AppStream. Moving back to peripherals, so different OEMs have different peripheral supports. So one should know if the OEM which they're going to choose supports their peripherals, right? So Citrix have a great peripheral support, while WSP protocol, which is pretty new, does not support all the peripherals. So one should be aware of it and choose the right solution for them and the feature sets.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. So with all of these different technologies, what are the deployment options for these providers when business is considering these?
Yeah, that's a great question. So let me start with the four OEMs which we're talking in here, right? So Microsoft, as Michael said, it's completely on Azure. You can deploy it on-prem using HV. If we moved on to VMware, they, as an OEM, right? So as an end user computing OEM, they support major cloud providers. Like one is Microsoft Azure, and then the other one is GCP, GCVE, and AWS, VMC on AWS, right? And Citrix also support all the major OEM cloud providers, which I named. So it's again goes back to the question of the VDI or the DaaS or the managed DaaS, what I want to do, right? So let's take, for example, here VMware with Microsoft, right? So VMware Horizon Enterprise can be only deployed using Microsoft AVS, which is Azure VMware Solution, which is Microsoft managed VMware SDDC stack, and Horizon Cloud. VMware also offers an offering which is Horizon Cloud, which runs on AVD, and it also can integrate with Windows 365. Likewise, Citrix also has all these deployment options. So one can one can choose which deployment option would be best fit. We'll talk more on this in our success stories in a real world use cases where we have deployed, where we have used these deployment options for different customers and different use cases.
Yeah, perfect. And these answers can seem complex, I think, Rajiv and Michael, but these are very important things for everybody to consider and to evaluate. And so to continue, with features and capabilities that are very important. Another important point is endpoints, right? So can you guys help shed some light on the types of endpoints that these platforms support? And are there any limitations between the endpoint types? And Michael, I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, especially because that's something that we get a lot of questions about. A lot of organizations are not only looking at adopting a VDI or a DAS, but they're also looking at limiting the spend that they have on their physical devices. And so VDI and DAS support a wide range of endpoints and operating systems. So that'll include Windows, Mac OS, Linux distributions, and these can be found on tablets, phones, desktops, laptops, then in Zero Trust clients. So thinking of how you're going to be able to access this machine or these machines is they can be accessed from pretty much any laptop, desktop, and as well as your tablets and phones. I personally will connect to my VDI from my phone or tablet when I'm out working remote. And yeah, and so it provides a really easy to use place. Now, when we're thinking about existing physical hardware, we can look at extending the life of these machines as well, because we can remove any type of heavy load that is currently being put on that machine and start treating it like a thin client. So the end user would just use that machine to connect into their VDI. We've seen organizations extend the life of these virtual desktops, extend the life of these physical endpoints by some time, reducing their total cost of ownership. This really does increase the flexibility and mobility of the workforce as well, and provide centralized management of the devices depending on whatever platform you're using. They provide centralized management for these devices. Some of the limitations that I'd like to call out as well. So when we're thinking about thin and zero clients, so a thin client is going to be a client that has, I wouldn't say minimal capabilities, but is not going to be up to the same end of like a laptop or desktop specific for business use. But they are still able to complete general actions, browse the web, and things like that. But you're going to be using that to connect to your virtual desktop. Now, with Zero Trust clients, those clients are only running a small operating system. And so that device will only be used to connect to that virtual desktop. But either way, these clients provide the ability to reduce your attack vectors and provide further flexibility with your hardware.
That's perfect. And I think that really opens up, the situation that a lot of organizations are in right now with either remote work or hybrid work, where people are just working in a completely different way, on a larger scale than they ever have before. So that's perfect. Thank you for going over that.
Absolutely.
So let's jump to the next segment here, guys, and let's look into performance and scalability. Obviously, this is an area that again is very, very important for organizations to look into and to really consider, because obviously every employee needs to have the right level of performance, and every organization needs to have the scalability to grow as things change. So Rajiv, I'll let you take this one here. What are these challenges associated with virtual desktop performance, and also couple in what are the factors to consider when scaling a virtual desktop environment?
Sure. Yeah, it's a very important question as it directly relates to the end user experience. So any solution without meeting the end user experience needs is not going to fly within a business, right? So the end users are going to say it isn't working for me. So it's very important to understand the challenges and ensure that it's addressed in the deployment and the design and the deployment, right? So the key challenges which we see as the virtual desktops are in a centralized location is the latency, right? So the users can be anywhere. They can work from anywhere, any device, any time. So the anywhere is matters because they can be anywhere. So latency and the responsiveness of the system is very key. So the networking, the bandwidth, everything needs to be um, designed and deployed properly based on where the users are, or the users going to be in the office. They work from home some days of the week and things like that, right? So that's important to consider. And then there are certain use cases which requires, like, let's say, engineers, architects who use graphics intensive applications like CAD, SolidWorks, and stuff like that. So they would require compute power as well, GPU compute as well. So the design should also include those in the virtual desktop so that it can scale to those user demands. Correct. And then the other key challenge, what we see is every organization have its practices already. Correct. So environments, tools are used. How does the VDI platform integrate into those is also a key thing which needs to be considered here, which is sometimes a challenge. And also from a storage perspective, how do I handle my storage? How do I layer the security around it? Correct. So these are the key challenges, and also the important thing which is mostly overseen is the monitoring and insights, right? So we need to kind of monitor it in terms of cloud, let's say, so that the cost is under control, and also the end user experience is under control. So we have eyes on the storage network and on the compute of the virtual desktop infrastructure, so that everything is in check and it's working as it should.
Yeah, no, that's a great overview and great answer to those questions, because with the endless amount of possibilities that these technologies bring, there are also important things, other factors to consider that could present themselves as real challenges, right? So that was a great answer. Guys, we can move on to the next segment. We can jump into real world use cases and success stories. And so I want to have you guys review a few of these. But before we do, I just want to touch on Anunta and just a brief introduction to who we are and how we help these companies. But we're a global digital workspace and cloud transformation solution provider. Essentially, we enable organizations to deploy, manage, and optimize their VDI and DAS environments, as well as modern desktop management or MDM environments, and really run mission critical workloads across all public, private, and hybrid cloud environments. So for over a decade now, Anunta has successfully migrated over 600,000 remote desktop users in order to help them enhance their workforce productivity in migration, management, and optimization services, and again, all on the leading cloud providers, Microsoft, AWS, VMware, Citrix, and even in private cloud environments. So with that being said, let's jump into some of these use cases, and I'd like to just review it initially, and then let you guys jump into it. So this first one, Michael, I'll let you discuss this, but quickly to the background. We enabled a global IT service and consulting business to enable their remote working force. They had over 40,000 users that were with AVD and Azure. So Michael, if you can speak quickly to the solution that was implemented for this organization and what their outcome was.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love talking about this one. This kind of actually calls back to what I mentioned earlier about reducing total cost of ownership. The organization was looking to reduce their cost of end user computing, reduce the cost of those physical endpoints. And so we recommended Azure Virtual Desktop because of its flexibility and robustness, and to eliminate the procurement of those on-premises hardware as well as those physical endpoints. We introduced them to a variety of, we enable the employees to access these devices quickly and at a very cost-effective solution. So a a mix of dedicated as well as pooled resources. We also introduced our own in-house AI ops smart monitoring tool called UVantage. This provides total insight into the organization's infrastructure, specifically for those VDI and DAS solutions. So we ended up providing them with a fully managed solution with our day two services, taking care of any work disruptions and providing the end users the ability to work from home with high availability and high quality calling. Especially dealing with organizations that are engaged with audio calling, we work really closely with our customers to deliver the highest quality possible. And so we've seen a lot of success with that. After the initial deployment, we scaled them up to over 40,000 users successfully, being that we build all of our environments to a production level.
Perfect. Yeah, that's fantastic. That's great. Use case number two. Guys, this is really more around AWS. We at Anunta, we enabled a leading BPO that empowered their remote workforce as well, and seamlessly access their applications through server virtualization, right? Leveraging VMC on AWS. Rajiv, with this instance here, what was the solution that we rolled out for them, and also the outcome that they received?
Oh yeah, for sure. So this was the use case I was alluding to when we spoke about the deployment options, right? So this was Horizon. We used VMware on VMC on AWS. So it's Horizon on VMC on AWS, where the requirement for the customer was to scale out to cloud, right? So they want to protect their investments which they have made on the existing on-prem infrastructure, but they want to scale out to cloud, right? So what we did was we then chose VMC on AWS as the SDDC platform for us in this solution, and Horizon on top of it, right? So to provide virtual desktops to the end users, virtual desktops and applications to the end users. So the BPO could leverage the existing tool sets, and also their IT staffs are trained in the existing tool sets, so they didn't have to go through retrain their IT staff, and they were able to successfully scale out in a timely fashion for this. And it also enabled to use this infrastructure as a disaster recovery when on demand.
Awesome. Well, in the next use case, we're citing VMware here again. For this organization that we helped to basically enable a secure, scalable digital workplace for a multinational energy company, right? Leveraging Rising Cloud on Azure. Rajiv or Michael, either one of you, I think, can speak to this.
Yeah, I can certainly speak to this. So this is again VMware on Azure, correct? So this is on Horizon Cloud on Azure. So the business requirement was that there are a lot of mergers and acquisitions happening in this energy and utility field, right? So they acquire companies, they had to scale out and scale up to address the demands of the users, and also serve and also onboard them as soon as possible, correct? So in a timely fashion. So we understood their requirements, and then we figured out that Horizon Cloud would best work. I mean, a cloud infrastructure would best work, and then their choice of cloud was Azure. And we evaluated the requirements and nailed it down to Horizon Cloud on Azure, right? So what it helped to do as an outcome is they were able to kind of onboard the users in a timely fashion during the acquisitions, mergers, and also they were able to scale out and scale in as required.
That makes sense. Sounds perfect. It's amazing to see with the different types of scenarios and how different solutions, with VDI and DAS can be so beneficial. So, in our last use case here, the background is that we undertook EUC for a leading private sector bank to enable secure anytime, anywhere access to their applications, leveraging Citrix. So Rajiv, I think you can answer this one as well to help what the solution was and also the outcome.
Oh yeah, for sure. So this is interesting, Dean. So the business, as it's a banking environment, the security and compliance were the key factors in the business requirement, right? So what we came up with a solution is on-prem. So we deployed Citrix on-prem, but why Citrix is, as I said, it's bank, and they have a lot of legacy infrastructure. When I say legacy infrastructure, it's peripherals, right? So scanners and different type of peripherals which the banking system uses. So Citrix provides a wide variety of peripheral support, and also all the other features which we spoke about earlier, correct? So we then designed and deployed Citrix for this leading bank. And what the outcome is that they were able to address the security and compliance requirement while enabling the flexibility for the users to connect to the banking systems and do their job.
Awesome. Very different applications, staying on-prem and looking at a different use case there, but still being able to achieve the objectives that this bank was looking for. So very interesting. All right, guys. Well, that wraps up the use cases. Let's look at really what are the key takeaways to consider when choosing the right VDI platform. And we have really kind of this list with a lot of nuanced context to each one of these. But really, as we look at what these key takeaways represent, it's important for your organization as you're searching for at these technologies to know, would managed DAS be better or would a VDI solution be better, right? Understanding the current environment, what the shortcomings are, where those holes are, the gaps that need to be filled, and then going through the right evaluation process to also know exactly where you want to go as an organization is very important. And so going through and really not only evaluating but understanding everything that we've gone through in this entire webinar, all the main points there are all considered in order to achieve the optimal outcome. So again, short list here with a lot of nuance, but these are great key takeaways for everybody to consider when looking at this type of technology. So guys, really quick, I want to talk about what we're going to do for anyone who is here today joining us. So our promotion is that we want to give everybody a free 1-hour consultation. Usually this is something that happens quite a bit down the line where we go deep into the technology, but we want to do that free for anybody that is on this webinar today. So we want to calculate the TCO and cost savings for where you're currently at, as well as the proposed environment for what is going to make the most sense for you. And so, as I mentioned, this is usually something that we do with organizations as we're further down the line. That we spend a lot of time, on TCO and cost savings and really going through these environments. But we want to do that for free with everybody today. So, anyone who's here, please send an email to sales@anuntatech.com and reference this webinar and hold your spot for that consultation. And then we would like to book that meeting with you within the next week. So please jump right on that. If you are somebody who's considering it, we would really love to be able to help you through all of the evaluation points that are required in order to make sure you get the right outcome.
Yeah, thank you everybody for attending. We will now go through our Q&A session. And what we will do here is start with, we have a number of questions that have come in that we want to make sure that we cover. So let me get to these here pretty quickly. Let's see, from a cost perspective and licensing, how would Citrix and Horizon be cost effective compared to Microsoft 365 AVD native solutions? Michael or Rajiv, whichever one of you would like to take that question.
Sure, I can answer that question. So that's a great question. So introducing Citrix or Horizon to the mix of a VDI solution introduces additional license costs, but we shouldn't look at the cost from only a licensing perspective or introducing a new component to it. It also we should also look at from an end user perspective, end user experience perspective. That is what would best suit for my requirement. Like we spoke on the webinar, we spoke about the architects, like GPU-based users, GPU-based workers, and they, those users would require a seamless connectivity to their applications. So we should compare the costs. When comparing the costs, we should also include the end user experience to the mix and decide on what the solution would be. Yes, but to answer that specific question of would it be cost effective, it would reduce by going with M365, Windows 365, or an AVD solution. Yes, if you are already a Microsoft customer with M365 E3 or whatever the licenses you have, it would the licenses includes AVD or Windows 365 solution, but you should not just look at that from only that perspective. So you should include end user experience also, and consider what solution would work best for you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Rajiv. Another question we have, Jennifer says, sorry if this is a stupid question, which there are no such things, right? You say all of these solutions have to be used with a VPN client, correct? These aren't open to the web, are they?
So I can take that question. No, you won't have to use a VPN necessarily. These can be open to where you can access over VPN, but for example, Azure natively, it uses the Microsoft Remote Desktop Client. That client utilizes your Azure credentials. You log in, you have your multi-factor authentication, your SSO, but no VPN is required. That connection is secure and it is encrypted during data transmission as well.
Perfect. And this last question we have from Tim, I think this is a question that we could probably go on quite a bit about. Oh, it looks like we had one more that popped in. So let's keep the answer to this question semi-short. And then Tim, if we can schedule a time later to go into this in more depth, we'd be more than happy to. But the question is, with respect to the various DaaS services offering VMware's Horizon platform, like Azure, AWS, etc. What is the anticipated impact of Broadcom's recent announcement to divest VMware's EUC products? I think Rajiv, you could probably take that one.
Yep, sure. So I don't want to speak on Broadcom's behalf, but as a partner, we are a close partner with VMware, now Broadcom as well. So what we see is that Broadcom is clear that they are going to divest the business, EUC business, but end user computing business is focused, and they will continue to develop and introduce new features and expand their support and portfolio in the EUC.
Yeah, awesome, thanks. And again, we can go into that more in depth later if you'd like, Tim. Last question from Bryce. Broadcom has signaled plan. Oh, you know what? That's actually the pretty much the same question. How much risk is there building plans around or on VMware Horizon? Was a little bit of the difference of Bryce's question.
Yeah. So as a close partner with Broadcom, what we see today is that there wouldn't be any impact to the EUC products or the solutions out in the market. So what we see is that it is going to continuously grow, and it's going to expand its feature to support multi-cloud and different platforms.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay. That's the, I don't see any other questions that are in here. Looks like a lot of good questions. Again, please, if you have any other questions, or you would even just like, the consultation with our team to go through your existing environment and to look at what it's going to take to get you guys the use case realization that you're looking for your business, please let's set up a time here in the next week, take advantage of that promotion that is there, and we'd be more than happy to help everybody in every way that we can to succeed in all ways. So Rajiv, Michael, thank you guys for being here today. Appreciate it. Thank you all for attending and making this a success. We will see you guys on round 2 of our webinar series.
Thanks for having us, and look forward to speaking with all of you.